All right, welcome to the Ozheads podcast number 11.
11.
Is it?
Once. Is it
Those,
once?
you're right. It's once. Yes,
Spanish comes in handy.
Yeah, it does. So here we are, coming to the end of 2023 already, man. Hard to believe. It was what, like only 4 weeks ago we were in Vegas?
Well, first I have to acknowledge my special guest over here. We've got a...
Do the intro.
Her name's Minnie.
We're very dog friendly here. We love dogs.
Well, I mean, you remember my father used to come in and bring his dog, his chocolate lab named Tonton, and I got to find Cole, I got to find for you the photo. We have a photo of like the dog with a Ducks Unlimited cigar. Do you remember that photo?
Oh God, we did that. Oh my God, yes.
And so that photo was taken because she was we put a stick in her mouth and she was playing with the stick, and the stick ended up like this.
Yep.
And then we have a picture of her with the
early Photoshop days.
I'll have to send that to you, Cole. Maybe
Classic.
you can drop it
in there. That's
so
awesome.
anyway, so now we've got the dog over here, and we need to find out a way to get a cigar.
She's had a hard morning already. You can tell she's zonked out.
Zonked out.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, Big Smoke. That was your first Big Smoke in how many years?
I went back, and it was the first one since 2013.
Wow,
10 years.
Yeah,
10 years.
First one for Vegas for me too.
Since when? What was yours? When was the last one?
Well, probably the same year.
13?
Probably.
Yeah. I wasn't actually participating in the Big Smoke in 13.
Although it probably wasn't 13 for me then.
No, it was prior to 13. Because for you, it was prior to 13. For me, it was 13 because they invited me to be a speaker on one of the panels for a seminar.
Oh, really? Cool. What did you talk
cool.
about?
It was new cigar companies or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
It was cool.
Who was on it?
It was me, I believe it was Christian Iora, and somebody else, and Savona was moderating.
Well, that's cool.
And the only thing I remember about it was at one point Pete Johnson was in the audience, and he
he screamed something.
He screamed out to Christian Iora, "Let Hubert talk." He was like, "Shut up and let Hubert talk," because Christian was just monopolizing the whole thing. I'm just sitting there, and Christian was like, and
you get Christian going, he can talk.
Oh yes,
he's a good dude.
He is a great dude. He's a good guy. Love him. But yeah, that was the last one I did, and then so it was for me to actually be like behind a booth. You'd have to go back to CAO days, which is probably what 9, 10, 11 or something like that. No. We were gone in 10, so it was like 8 or 9. So it was a long time.
Yeah,
it was a long time. What was your reaction stepping back into it? Do you think it changed? Do you think it kind of felt the same, or?
What I'm curious about is that, like, it felt like kind of like the same but different. Like, well, first off, it was in that kind of it was in that tinted area,
Resorts World.
Resorts World. Which at first I was like, when you think of a tent, I thought it was going to be felt like kind of Barnum and Bailey, but it didn't feel like that. It actually felt normal.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think they did a nice job with that. But I don't know, now I hear feedbacks from like friends and stuff like that, and they said, "Oh, I wish that they would do the lunches." Remember we had the lunches where you have a table, and people would sit at the table with a different company, and they would talk about stuff.
That's right.
And so I think, though, what happened with that is that maybe, from what I understand, you sit at one table, and if people are giving away, let's say a special cigar, and then you sit at another table and no one's giving anything, then the people that sat at the table that got the special cigar are like, well, why didn't I get a special cigar? So they were having like a hard time, I think, trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
But I think that can be easily figured out. It could be like, just, don't bring anything, or if you're going to bring something, bring like one cigar, or you know what I mean? Don't bring a sampler pack or whatever.
So everybody's playing in the same field or whatever. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I think to me, I was like, I wish we had more time to engage. You're better at this, obviously. Like you were in the line talking to people as they were coming up, and Jake and I were in our booth. People would come up like number seven. You're just like, just throwing cigar. I wish there was more time to actually spend with the guest, with the consumer. And I thought, what if CA just gave everybody their bag full of the cigars and everything as they walk in? It's already pre-done. And now you have 3 hours to go visit with whatever manufacturer you want to meet or take a picture with or do something like that. So it's a little more relaxed, because even like up until the end, like at 9:30, we still had people coming with, "Hey, I got number 7." It's like, "Oh, here's your cigar."
But I like all that though.
Yeah,
I like that
rush.
interaction where they have the ticket and stuff like that. I mean, I for me, I like that kind of dynamic
it's
And then it
it's
creates
a,
like they have to come and they have to give you the ticket and you have to like have that point of contact with
Yeah.
them. You see the person in their face and their eyes.
but you get
and,
10 seconds with them, and then it's like it's done.
But they
It's
can
like-
always come back towards the end if they want to talk to you more.
Yeah,
You know,
it was a little bit
you
of
know.
that. It was a little bit.
But I do think that actually doing the lunch thing, that might be kind of cool. Then there'd be like 10 people or 9 people at your table of 10, and you get an opportunity. Like, I made friends with my buddy Paul Johnson, who's in South Carolina that way. You know, he and his dad, we came and sat for, and you know, to this day, we're still like in touch with each other. Like, you know, if
still
I
get
go to South Carolina,
DMs all the time. He's the nicest guy.
nicest guy in the world. I mean, you know, and that wouldn't have happened had we not had that
Right.
that luncheon. So, I mean, that can have like a pretty powerful kind of
Yeah, a
effect
dozen years
and-
later, you
and-
still keep in contact with the
ties,
guy.
you know, so-
100%.
So I think that they could probably add that. I mean, I think they start those seminars later, is my understanding,
Yeah,
as opposed to what it was before. Because before it was earlier in the day, and you know you're in Vegas, and you know to start things later in Vegas makes sense. I mean, you know, who wants to start something at 9 a.m. on a Saturday in Vegas?
yeah, yeah.
So, but I mean, I thought it was.
I thought it was really good.
It
It
was
was.
cool to be there.
The thing that that struck me was, which was I thought was really kind of cool, was like there was like all walks of life. Like you saw every race, religion, ethnicity, demographic, socioeconomic, everything, and everybody was there because they loved cigars. It was just like the common denominator. You know what I mean? So it was like I saw husbands and wives, I saw fathers and daughters, it was just really cool that everybody had that common thread, that camaraderie of cigars, you know? And I was just like, that was kind of impactful. I was like, it's nice everybody could set aside all their differences because everything, you know, it seems like everything's so divisive in our country, right? You know, politically, whatever, however you want to look at it. And then that night, it was like nobody gave a shit about where you were from or whatever. It was just like, what are you smoking? What do you got? What's your favorite brand? Or what do you know, blah, 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 blah. It was nice.
Well,
I
people are
like
interested, I think, in learning more about the product and
Yeah.
cigars and the dynamics behind it. You know, their seminar session was sold out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, that shows that there's still interest.
Those tickets aren't
there.
cheap. I mean, they were like $350 for general admission, $450 for VIP
Yeah.
each night. And I was like, so you got to be into it to, you know, come out to Vegas, stay in the hotel. It's an expensive venture for sure.
Did you have any sort of like funny or memorable or like time in Vegas this time? Something interesting that happened to you? I mean, I had something I had an interesting experience.
Probably nothing. The most, I guess, was just my schedule of the fact that like we did the second night and like I got out of there at 10 o'clock, went straight to the hotel, went to sleep at 11 and woke up at 1:30 in the morning to catch
my
my flight.
God,
So
are
I
you
had 2.5
kidding?
hours. Yeah. The reason being because I thought I had enough time. I was taking a red eye and we were boarding at 5 in the morning,
Ugh.
right? Because it was my birthday on the 5th. So,
Yeah, so
Laura
then
is like, you got to be home for your birthday, blah, blah, blah.
You're like, I'm going to stay in Vegas.
No. So I was like, all right, so I'll get home as early as possible. So I found this red eye and I was talking to Ernesto and he said, when are you flying home? And I said, I got a 5 a.m. He said, oh, you better get up there early, bro. And I was just like, why? I mean, it's like, who's going to be flying at 5 in the morning? Like me and 3 people. He's like, trust me. So I was paranoid that I was going to miss this flight.
And it wasn't that bad, was it?
No, it was terrible, dude. I literally got there
was
before.
packed?
It was packed.
What?
I got up at 1:30. I took a shower. I got my Uber. I went to the airport, and I get there, and TSA hadn't even gotten there yet. None of the employees were there, but the line to check your bags for Southwest was all the way. No, the whole Serpentine line all the way. I didn't have to check bags. I'm like, oh God, I dodged that bullet.
Wow.
I go up to the line before TSA even opened, and it was like 100 yards of people like sitting on the floor. Some people were sleeping, waiting to. It was insane. I was,
Leaving Las Vegas.
I was
People
like,
couldn't wait to leave.
it was crazy. So
That's
that
because
was
probably they had that big car show that was over there,
That
right? So
F1
people
thing.
had been there like all week.
that was one thing I noticed about Vegas is how tore up the streets were, and
That's because they were getting ready for the Grand Prix.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, I did. So what was your funny thing? You must.
Well,
have,
I mean, look, for me, my mom, you know, who's 88, she's like, I need some THC to put on my shoulders and my knees. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
You know,
You went
it's
to a
legal
dispensary?
there. Not just a dispensary, the largest dispensary in the world
Oh my God.
is in Vegas. It's called like area, like, I don't know, 16 or 18. I forget what area and then a number.
Uh-huh.
And so I went over there, and it was, I mean, it was huge. I mean, at first you have to check in, you have to show your ID. There's a circular counter. You go inside, and then, you know, you register with. They have all these counters, like with numbers, and then in the center of the room they have all these displays of all the stuff, whether it's like edibles or smokables or topicals. And so then you give the ID again, and they put down your name, and you're on this list, this digital list, and you see where you are by your initial in line.
Right.
You know, so I was like, I don't know.
Now serving
like
number 25 or something?
No, I was like number 81. There was like a shit ton of people in there. So I'm like,
this
okay.
is fascinating because I've never been to a dispensary.
Yeah, so I mean, like, you know, you're just sitting there looking at all these displays of like, you know, hundreds of products. And so I waited there for like literally 30 minutes until they called my name. And then I went there just to get some like topicals for my mom.
Did you know what you were looking for? Did you go, hey, my mom sent me here. I got it.
She wanted as high as possible THC that she could put. And I'm like, if my dad were living, I was like, Señor Potted. I want marijuana immediately. So she
had she used it before? And
yeah, I mean, like she wanted like 1,000 milligrams THC. They didn't even carry it.
Oh my
they have
God.
1,000 milligrams THC, but not at the largest dispensary. Like in Colorado, they have it somewhere.
Oh my God.
Because she puts it on, and then like, you know. So
and you
anyway,
feel nothing.
So then I went and bought like these, and then they had somehow this special. Like I found one that had 800 milligrams THC, and then I don't know, 200, 300 CBD. That's the best they had. So the guy recommended it. I bought it, and then he said, "Oh, we have a special. If you buy 3, then it's like, you know, it was a really good deal." So I was like, "Okay, well then I'll get 3 of them." So I got 3 of them.
You get this free trucker hat too.
Yeah. then I go to the Big Smoke. I get in the Uber. I go to the Big Smoke. Oh, and, you know, I bought a little bit of gummies, too, because, I mean, they had this one gummy that they were marketing that will make you laugh, right? And I like to laugh, you know, and I was like, well, okay, if this I don't want to fall asleep.
Right.
So I got the ones that are sativa gummies that you take, like, some of them, and then you laugh and whatever. So I come back in. Then, meanwhile, I go to our booth, and, you know, Jake Sanders is there, you know, and Jake's like, I pulled my hamstring.
Yeah, he told me that.
And I was like, here, put some of this shit on. I gave him, like, the And he's like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. I mean, look, listen, I got like 3 of these things. Or 4, I don't even remember. 3 or 4, they offered me a deal. So I opened one and he put it on. He was like, man, immediately, I don't feel anything. Like,
10 minutes later, I don't feel my
said,
legs.
Keep this here.
Well, my legs.
Like, he can work, like, you know, won't even feel his leg the whole time he's standing up. He's putting like 800 grams of THC on his leg. So that was the funny story, is that like it actually came in handy that I went and I bought this thing from Area 15. I didn't take the gummy that night. Just
so
FYI.
like, can you go and like get like they can roll you like a cigarette or something? Or I mean,
no. They had the actual bud there, you know, so you could buy the weed. You could
but
buy the
like,
bud.
if I wanted to walk in there and say, hey, I need 5 joints or something like that or whatever, they don't do that. Like,
I don't think so. I think they just sell you the actual.
I'm fascinated. I've never.
They sell you the actual.
So then you.
The actual weed you can buy.
And then you got to buy all like the papers
Probably,
and the little thing and that and whatever.
Honestly, it was like, my guess would be it was probably at least 60% edibles or topical stuff. Like they had these pills, because these gummies are like, you know, what are they, like 10 milligrams, I think, of THC. So, you know, you're not used to it. It's all about what you're used to. You take.
They had like the brownies and all that stuff too?
No, I didn't see any brown. They had chocolates.
Okay.
But they had these little pills. They almost looked like they just looked like little Tylenol pills.
Yeah.
But each one of those was like, you know, 20 milligrams or something, smaller than a gummy, but more potent than a gummy. And I said to the guy, because one of them said they had like, oh, if you want more focus, and I'm like, well, that'd be kind of cool. Like, can you take that? And he's like, you don't want to take that. You take that, you're gonna be on your ass for 2 days. So I didn't get that one. So anyway,
oh my God.
So that was my.
See, maybe there's a new thing for Shankin. He can do like weed aficionado and like just, you know,
maybe
just different. I mean, I didn't know that there was such a diverse industry. Jeez.
Well, it was crowded. I'll tell you that.
They're probably printing money. I can't even imagine.
Well, it wasn't like a mob scene over there, but it was, you know, it was kind of cool.
Interesting. It was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was a whirlwind. We just literally like, I landed 2 hours before the first wave on Friday, and did it with Jake, and then Jake was in our booth, whatever, and everything. It was nice. I had a good time. It was fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm glad they're doing that. I remember they used to do them they had them all over. They would have them
back in the day,
Dallas and Chicago,
Detroit.
And New York.
Remember, they had Detroit, they had Chicago, they had Miami, they had New York, Vegas.
Yeah.
My favorite one back in the old days.
This is when we had the flavorettes now, mind you. So
I remember the
I
ones.
still get comments about the
There
flavorets.
was ones before the
from
flavorettes.
CAO.
Even the ones before the flavorettes. My favorite ones were always New York. They used to have it in the Marriott Marquis. And I just remember the mob scene that was there, and we'd always all go to like the same steak restaurant together afterwards.
Was it like the Irish place?
There was that Irish place. Oh God, what was the?
Yeah, New York was good.
New York was so great. It was such a good cigar culture back then.
Del Frisco's?
I'm
It was
talking
Del
Del Frisco's. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was awesome. And
Yeah,
we'd
was
stay
fun.
out all night, and then go to there was another bar, like a cigar bar, that we'd go to after Del Frisco's. It was just fun. It was a really cool thing.
Yeah,
It was
no, it
nice.
was good.
The Marriott Marquis. And then we had the booth, and we used to get like T-shirts and like throw them over the booth, and like people would like
No, we did.
jump all over each other. Yeah, we did that
t-shirts?
back in the day. We had T-shirts or hats or
Wow.
whatever. We just start throwing them out in the crowd and creating a big scene. Sammy
Yeah.
Phillips from La Polina says that's where he got all of his ideas from what we used to the shenanigans we used to do at CAO.
I know. Well, what they did now, it's got me all fired up to get back into the
I
shenanigans.
still don't know what he was doing over there. Like I heard about golf simulators.
No,
and I'm
no.
like,
It was a slot machine. It was a digital slot
he
machine.
had a slot machine.
Yeah, where you could win like all these prizes. You could win a watch, stuff like that.
Yeah, I know they do a collab with Accutron, I believe. Citizen Accutron or something.
Yeah,
watches
yeah.
and stuff
So that
like
was that was part of it too.
Okay.
So it was good. It was fun to be back with cigar aficionados.
It was
consumers.
nice. Like Dave Savona came by and gave me a hug, and Barry Abrams,
Yeah.
the close talker. He always comes up to you and he's like talking, "How you doing?" He's like, you're like, that space, like you just kind of like, "Yeah, I'm good.
This after how many bourbons?
Yeah. He comes back later that night. It's even like right there. I'm like, "Do you want to kiss me or something?" It's like you're like right there on me. But it was nice to see like friends and people I hadn't seen in a while. It was a good vibe.
Yeah,
I
it's
appreciated it. Speaking of CA, in about a month from when we're taping this, they're going to start their whole like reveal of the top 25 cigars of 2023, and I have a hunch that Bosphorus will be on that list with a
I
little
hope
gold
so.
plaque. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
I believe, and somebody can comment below and correct me, but I believe that the line of demarcation is 91. If you get a 91 in either CA or CI, then you're eligible to be in this pool that they go out and get those cigars, re-smoke them, reevaluate, and then come down to the top 25. But you've got Bosphorus had what, 93, 93, 92, 90?
93. Yeah, that's right.
Is that right? Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
So if one of those is not on that top 25, I'll be shocked. So I think you'll get your gold plaque right out the gate.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, part of it is, you're starting a brand new brand. So, I mean, we're not, I would love to advertise with them, but we're not advertising just yet.
Digitally.
You know what I mean?
Digitally.
Digitally we are.
Yeah.
Digitally we are. So, but you got to I mean, you're starting something. You got to build it. You can't just, it has to be about the quality of the product first at its core. And then, you hope that kind of,
100%.
that people like it, and then you can build from there. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I always tell people, I mean, I smoke them, and I mean, I think they're great. I mean, I can compare it. I can put it up against any cigar, honestly, in the world, and I
100%.
feel that it's like it can be as good, or if not better, than any cigar out there right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to smoke a lot of different cigars so that I have a palate that's that's
I
educated.
keep going back to the little 4x50, the B50. That's my jam in that brand. I just love that little cigar, especially at the end of the day with a coffee or whatever, or in the beginning of the day with a coffee.
Yeah, my thing for whatever reason is I like this 5.5 by 55. I think
That's
it's
a good
just
size.
when you press it, and I always believe because since I played saxophone, that woodwind instrument,
I didn't know you played
you have
sax.
I played tenor sax.
I never knew that.
And alto sax.
20 years, I never knew you played sax.
But when you have that, and it kind of you bring in the wind in this case, it kind of coats your palate. And so I think that's why I like this size. Because I've been thinking about it, why do I like this size so much? Because we did it in Brasilia at first for CAO. We box pressed it, And I don't understand also, like, why. I mean, what do people have against box press cigars? I mean, box press cigars are very good.
I love box press cigars. I do.
You know, I
I
mean,
don't think there's.
is there a stigma against box press cigars?
You know, I go back to like when I first got into this, like in '96, whatever. When Padron came out with the Anniversario and they box pressed it, nobody was box pressing anything, but that became like everybody wanted a box press. And now it's like I guess it's kind of divisive. It's either a love-hate thing. Like I don't know. I love box press cigars. I really do.
Well, and I mean, also it has to do with like, I mean, you remember at first we dealt with like, I think Perdomo had like some molds that were pressed. So when it pressed it, it had more sharp corners to it. I mean, there are different ways that you can box press a cigar. I mean, traditionally, you know, it was in those cabinet style boxes. They're round. We did it. You remember in our first CAO Anniversary Maduros, there were actual nails
Yeah.
in the middle of the lid where they would nail them down.
Yeah.
So that was a very traditional box press. And
It's like
then,
a trunk press more like I think,
Yeah.
you know, that gives it a softer press as opposed to that 90-degree angle rigid, which I'm not a huge fan of.
I'm not a huge fan of that either. I like more of I like how this one is. I think this is beautiful. Well, you know, Ernie in this case like has round cigars, and they have to be a little bit supple, so they have a give to them, so that when he presses them, they're not so packed that you have a plugged cigar.
Right. Yeah, there's an art to making them that, and EPC has gotten really good at it. He's gotten really good at doing a nice pressed cigar that there's no draw problems. It just burns well. It's consistent.
And I feel like also that like these, I don't know. I mean, no one talks. I feel like that these oils, they kind of compress and they like sort of like seep into one another. And I don't know. I just think it's a more
I think it's also,
concentrated
like-
flavor.
Like it's like the mouthfeel too. It's like for me, like if you gave me a round 55 ring gauge cigar, I would probably feel like that's a little bit much for me. But when you press it, it's easier it feels better in my mouth to smoke a larger ring gauge cigar like that, and I enjoy it. So it makes it a lot more accessible, I think, too. I don't know. I would be shocked if it wasn't in the top 25 for sure. It's always a fun game to play because I like towards as we get closer to their reveal, because they'll reveal like I think what do? Like they do like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. 4, 3, 2, and then the number one cigar of the year kind of thing, and then everybody else. And we've been in the everybody else category a few times, but I think it's going to be exciting to see how far up. I guarantee that I think, you know, Bosphorus will be there. Where it lands, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know there are a lot of consumers think that it's like has to do with like how much you're advertising with them, which I don't know if that's true or not. I have no. You know, this is just what I hear.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, but I mean, the Cubans aren't advertising with them.
that's true. And I think didn't a Cuban win Cigar of the Year last year?
I think so.
And Rocky got number 2.
Okay.
I mean, if it was ad dollars, Rocky would have probably been number 1 like 4 or 5 times by now. He's, you know, he could probably have bought a building for those guys by now, the way he advertises. So.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just it's a fun time. It's a great list that whether you agree with it or not, it creates conversation. It draws attention to the industry. I mean, it's the list that still matters. I mean, when you get down to it, because everybody does a list, and it's nice to be on them and whatever. It's kind of like the award season, you know. I always kind of joke that Crowned Heads gets a lot of People's Choice Awards, but we'll never get an Oscar, kind of a thing. You know, those are kind of
Who
reserved.
knows? I mean, you know, one never knows in life. You know.
But yeah, you never know. But it'll be fun to see. I'll be watching that carefully.
What would you say when you look back on like the year? I mean, it's funny because typically at this time of the year, you know, it's a high time of the year for the retailers because of like, you know, upcoming like holiday season, and so. But on our end, it tends to be like, you know, a bit slower at this time of the year, just because, you know, the retailers are like, all right, look, let us hunker down and do our thing,
Right.
and you guys don't bother us that much. We'll call you if you need anything. That kind of dynamic.
Yeah.
Still kind of like that, would you say?
This year in particular, no, because the PCA has moved up from July to March, which is a difference of 4 months.
Right.
So behind the scenes, you and I have had to like back everything up on a timeline 4 months earlier. So if you want to get new product to launch at the PCA this year, you've had to get your stuff in a lot earlier. And by that, I mean like, the design, the packaging,
yeah.
and then the materials, the bands, the labels, the boxes, all that stuff. Sometimes it's 14, 16 weeks for bands, and so you really have to be further out. So this year it's a little bit of I feel a little bit pressure.
But when you look back on the year, would you say like what were your kind of like was the highlight La Vereda for you? Would you say or
For me personally, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just because we had worked so much with Ernie on that one, and just everything changed and evolved so much. It's funny because over the Thanksgiving break, I pulled up on my phone a picture of what the original band and box looked like, and I sent it to Ernie, and it was like he gave me like this laughing emoji, like, it's amazing to see how far that, changed. Like, would that have been the same thing? And it wasn't. This complete evolution. So yeah, I mean, that was the highlight for me. I was really happy how it came out, and yeah, I mean, that was definitely. I mean, I'm smoking it right now still. I love this cigar, the blend. Proud of it, and proud of what Ernie did with it. And but we're already on to the next one. It's like the dishes are done, so we're looking at the next meal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same with you. I mean, shoot, before you know it, I guess you don't want to reveal anything on that.
Not yet.
It's too early. I keep forgetting that we tape these things and then they come out whenever. But I know it's exciting times. It's always the creative aspect for me personally is what gets me excited about. Okay, like I just got a conference call with Mike and Miguel, and we were brainstorming something for TPE, and what started off like this evolved into like this, and now I'm like, okay, we get to go and play and create this, and we've got 6 weeks to do it. So I'm like, okay, let's go. So that's always fun. She got up.
Yep.
Stretch your legs.
She got up to stretch her legs, and then she's part poodle, like, so they're like really smart, so they'll like tell you what they need it's kind of like she has her own like hand and signals and the way that she like will bark to me. It's funny. So yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be fun to see how next year kind of develops.
It'll be here before you know it, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We've got TPE the end of January, and then in March we've got PCA. I mean, it sounds like it's a long way away, but it just is right around the corner. And I'm like, there's a lot that goes into that. Not even just with the product, but like with the displays and
has the feel been the
graphics.
reaction to PCA moving has been overall positive, negative, or mixed, or what are you hearing?
I'm not really hearing either pro or con. I mean, some people are like, oh, Vegas will be nicer in March because it won't be like so hot, but like we ever see the outdoors anyway.
Yeah, right.
We're in a convention center. It's like it could be snowing outside. We wouldn't know. But I think from a manufacturer's standpoint, I think it'll be advantageous because if you get the product out early enough, you'll have a few more turns on the shelf.
Right.
If you can get that product early enough. So I think that is an opportunity, but I don't know.
Well, I think it also makes sense to me that if you're looking at the first quarter, typically that's a slower time of the year from a business standpoint.
True.
At least from where we sit, you know what I mean? And at least it gets like a product out there that you can that helps with your kind of business cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you have it on the shelf sooner, as opposed to like doing it during the summer. I mean, these are the months that people hypothetically will be smoking more cigars because the weather is nicer.
Mm-hmm.
So they can go outside and enjoy more cigars, as opposed to March in a lot of places. Still, people are not going to be, especially Jan, Feb, March. It's going to be tougher to smoke outside in a lot of places.
Yeah, but March is kind of like the kickoff season for cigar smoking because March, April, then all of a sudden the weather gets a little bit better. We're out of winter. We start to go into the golf season. Everybody's out there smoking cigars. So I think the timing will be good. It'll be good. And the only thing that we flip-flopped with TAA, which doesn't affect everybody, but it affects us. So TAA this year will be in October. And
I think that won't be bad either. October's a pretty
fine.
Good month.
Yeah. Yeah, October's nice. And I think they're doing it in Aruba. Is that right?
Yeah.
I've never been.
That's right.
So
no, I haven't been there either.
That'll be something to look forward to as well. So exciting.
The cutter that you showed me earlier, do you have that?
That's true.
That actually cut it really, really well. So what do you call that? I've never seen that before in my life.
Somebody was kind enough to gift this to me from Fox Cutters, I believe it's. I don't know. It's
Is
just,
it a scissor cut?
It's a scissor cut, but it's just, he sent it to me, and I've been using it, and it stays sharp, and it cuts well, and so plug for Fox cutters. I mean, this is...
Do you, when you cut your cigar, are you just trying to cut, like I try to just cut maybe just the cap, because you see him put the cap on a cigar, and it's just it's just this thin circle. So hypothetically, that's why, like, when you're down in Central America, like, I remember that it's almost like a rite of passage that you have to pinch and twist.
Yeah,
which you can do that, except with a torpedo. That's that becomes super messy and tough.
I've seen guys down there though. They just bite it.
They just bite it off,
spit it. Yeah.
So I mean, like, do you go like a half inch, or like when you cut it
right above the cap line? I look for the cap line.
Yeah, me too.
So
now, like, that's the thing. You try to do less and less.
A lot of times I'll just pinch it here even. But like if it's a cigar that I really want to like enjoy, like a Lavaretta or something like that, then I'm gonna go through the process of cutting it, toasting it, lighting it.
Actually, a lot of people, when I'm out in the field, they ask about that. They ask about, do you like V cut, guillotine cut?
I've never used the V cut.
Punch cut. You never used the V cut?
Never used it. I think I've used a punch cut.
A lot of
maybe
people like
times.
the V cut. I'm surprised.
I've never done that.
I think the punch cut. I know my dad loved the punch cut because, being a mechanical engineer, I think he thought it was like clean. You didn't get any tobacco shards in your mouth.
Yeah.
But I don't see as much. And then a buddy of mine told us, we're not very good golfers, but I mean, like, before the weather turned, we were playing golf, and this guy, he played at Tennessee. He was an O lineman, and he said, "Hey, you taught me years ago to take a golf tee and like drill holes."
That's actually a good idea.
I never told you that, did I? He's like, "Yes, you did." I'm like, "Okay, I guess I did." So he said he was telling everybody to like take a golf tee and like drill like little holes in it. I'm like, "What? Yeah, whatever works for you at the end of the day."
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like getting as much circumference open so that you get enough.
Exactly.
But then again, the punch cut's pretty effective. I don't know.
I
didn't really have like a holistic opinion.
Up until like the Fiend Lam sent me a cutter, and then these guys sent me this. I had just been pinching and then using a Cigar. Then somebody walked away with my Cigar. I don't know where it is, but it walked. So Cigar, you can send me another cutter if you want.
What do you think about those ones that like you stick in the head and it stops it, and that's pretty clever, I think. You know what I'm talking about? Where
where you can actually like it so that you can only go so far down on the cigar, where you can. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I have one of those. There's a whole box of like accessories. I've never been a big accessory guy, but
really,
yeah, no. I think it's because back in the day when like the first few times I went down to a factory, I saw guys like Nestor Plasencia using Bic lighters. And I'm like, well, who am I to use like a fancy torch lighter? I'm just going to use a Bic. Nestor Plasencia used the Bic. So I'm like, it's good enough for him. So I've never been into the accessory thing, to be honest. Does she have to go out?
This is her telling me that she needs to go.
I think she's telling us to cut.
She needs to go and do number 2.
I think we're going to have to.
We're going to have to wrap
it.
Yeah,
we're going to have to wrap it real quick.
The dog's like, shut up.
Come on, I got to go.
Things are getting boring.
I got to go. You're going too long.
Really,
Let's
the
go.
tail's wagging. She already knows.
She's like, all right, it's a wrap.
You want to go?
That's perfect timing. Look at her. All right. So
all right.
That's
the dog's saying cut.
Number 2 break.
Number 2 break. Potty break.
Yep. She's like, seriously, I gotta go. Look at
she's scratching you now.
She's like, come on, somebody, anybody.
Special guest.
I'm about to make a mess. All right, so we'll see you on the next one. Until the next one, keep smoking Crown Heads, keep smoking OFC. Have the best day of your life. We'll see you on number 12 later. Bye.